What is up, everyone? Welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be learning the backside 50-50. Now, I gotta be honest with you guys, this is a trick that I did not learn until I was into my 20s. This trick mystified me for the longest time. I could not understand how to shift my board and my body both backwards onto something behind me. But obviously I did eventually figure it out. So hopefully some of these tips I have for you guys today can help you skip that long and confusing process that I had to go through. So I'm going to give a good bit of attention to the reasons that I couldn't figure this trick out, because I'm assuming lots of you guys probably have the same sort of problem. But one thing I'll say is, before you learn this trick, you probably want to be able to do this. So if you notice there's a crack there, you want to be able to ride alongside a crack and to be able to backside ollie over it before you can do a backside 50-50. Make sure you can do this. If you can't do it, obviously practice it. And you may be surprised to know as well that one trick that's really going to help you with this motion that it takes to ollie straight up backside over something is to learn how to do a back 180. There's actually some similarities there that are hard to detect when you're just watching footage of it. But to achieve a backside ollie like this, you actually have to turn slightly backside in the air, the same that you turn for a backside 180. So my recommendation is learn backside 180s. Obviously you need to be able to ollie if you're going to back 50, but definitely try and learn back 180s as well. So one thing that's super important for this trick is your angle of approach, and this is something that it took me a long time to figure out. Whenever I do a backside 50-50, I do not approach the ledge parallel. Instead, as you can see right here, in the moment just before I pop my tail, I'm angled in towards the ledge. Now, in order to really figure out the angle that you need to take when approaching the obstacle, I would suggest a mixture of studying the angle that I take when I approach, approximating that, and then also just practicing the trick on your own and filling it out on your own. Often different people do the same tricks with slightly different techniques, so keep that in mind. Staying on the subject of angle of approach, just take a look at these clips here. I tried to get this nice low angle to really accentuate the angle. Look at that. I actually lean in on the hillside towards the ledge in the moment before I pop. If you do not approach the backside 50 at an angle like this and you try to approach it parallel instead, then you'll probably run into the very same confusion that I had. So now to the heart of this trick, let's talk about the great confusion that I had when I was learning this trick and when I could not figure out how to do it. In a nutshell, my problem was that I thought the way you ollied into the trick was like this: straight up and then back onto the obstacle. I thought you have to pop straight up and somehow get yourself straight backwards onto the obstacle. And I was approaching parallel. I wasn't angling my board in towards the ledge when doing this. Now, it's sort of easy to see why I would have thought that it worked this way. It just seems correct, right? Like, okay, it's a backside 50-50. It's right behind me, so I have to ollie straight up and then back onto the obstacle. Unfortunately, that does not work. So it's really not surprising that I was never able to back 50 while I was thinking about it that way. In fact, what you have to do in order to make this trick work is approach at an angle, ollie straight, and then turn very slightly backside in the air so that you land parallel with the obstacle. So we have an angled takeoff and a parallel landing. That is the key takeaway here. You can't have a parallel takeoff and a parallel landing. You can't have a parallel ollie and a parallel landing on the obstacle. You have to have an angled ollie, an angled takeoff, and a paralleled landing. So what's actually going on is that you're ollieing straight, and then as you're in the air, you turn to land parallel. Okay, it's very subtle. It's like you're doing, almost like you're doing like a 16th or an 1/8 of a backside 180, depending on how sharp your angle is. So that's why I said you need to know backside 180s, because you're actually ollieing straight, and then you're giving a slight backside rotation in the air so that you fall down parallel on the obstacle, even though when you ollied, you weren't parallel with it. So I know that I'm beating this to death, but it's a really subtle point that took me a long time to understand, and so I just want to really drive it home here. You're ollieing straight over the obstacle, and then you're turning once you're already in the air, just like that. So I'm pretty much convinced that if you figure that part out, you've basically figured out 95% of the backside 50-50, which is just getting into it. Riding out or grinding a backside 50-50 really isn't that hard, especially if you already have frontside 50-50s, which you probably do. Most people learn frontside first. Now, they are going to be slightly different on rails, so I will spend some time going over that. If you're doing a backside 50-50 on a ledge, then all you really need to do is put a little bit more weight on your heels rather than your toes, and you're pretty much good to go. You're just going to grind all day as long as you have wax. On a rail, the lock-in is a little bit different. I prefer to do what is called a cross lock-in, and you've probably been watching how my trucks are sort of on opposite sides, and it's not that I'm like really intentionally trying to lock in this way, and a lot of skaters do it this way, some don't. It's just that kind of naturally, my body and my board sort of naturally goes to a cross lock-in. The basic rule of thumb, if you want to do a cross lock intentionally, is to put your back foot's weight on your heel, but your front foot's weight more on the toe. So back foot weight on the heel, but front foot weight more on the toe is going to give you a cross lock. If you want to not have a cross lock, if you want to grind just like this, then you're just going to go ahead and put the weight of both feet back onto your heels, the same as if you're grinding a ledge. Only minor difference is that your trucks are actually only in contact with the surface of the obstacle right below your heels, whereas on a ledge, a lot more of your truck is in contact with the surface of what you're grinding across. You would think that that would make rails a lot harder, and yes, rails are harder, but the difficulty increase when skating a rail, like when just in grinding a rail as opposed to a ledge, is really minimal. The real challenge is the psychological one when skating a rail. Alright you guys, so that's pretty much going to cover it for the backside 50-50. Let's have a quick recap. You want an angled approach, but a parallel landing. You want to put the weight on your heels on a ledge. You want to do either heels or back heel and front toe for a cross lock if you're on a rail. Make sure you give a nice little lift up at the end and enjoy shredding. Until next time, keep shredding. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if the content is helpful. Peace out.